March Madness is upon us, and couple that with the NBA season is going on, actually going to the playoffs. A better way to bet on those games and games in other sports like the Premier League and everything else, or even Major League Soccer, than BetUS.com, where you can get 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500 by using the promo code TKT for the Klown Times. So what are these other perks here? You can bet on the go. You can bet anytime, anywhere on your mobile device. You get fast pass, or you get paid immediately every single time. And last but not least, you can you could do live betting where you can bet during the game, getting the early and the best lines. Again, use my promo code TKT for the Klown Times to get up to 125% of the sign-up bonus, which is up to $2,500. So again, not to sound like a book record, but go to betus.com where the game begins. Welcome to tonight's post-NFL draft edition of the Klown Podcast with Scott Burks, co-hosted by my man, Dwayne Nash. Please join him on the yard, that's HBCU.com. Well, I should say HBCU, I'm just messing up. The yard / HBCU Sports. I'm discombobulated. I had a hell of a day. Where he reps about all things HBCU Sports. Okay, I got that part right. As well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube, rather. So check out him, Sweet Lou, and the coach. You'll be glad you did. Also, we're going to rap about their NFL Draft Live show. So we're going to get some thoughts on that. That was a lot of fun. As well as his great work on herosports.com, where he writes about all things FCS athletics as they pertain to HBCU sports. And me, I fixed my camera so everything is right side, instead of backwards. The Klown Times, www.theklowntimes.net. You can find me on Facebook as well, so whether you're a smartphone, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, and wherever you may be, you can just type in the Klown Times, spelled like this. Type it to the search window. You can find us there as well. And last but not least, two things. A, get the merch.
Get that merch.
CafePress.com, search for Klown Times Sports. You find those there. In addition to hats, you have mouse pads, there bags, sweatshirts, hoodies, t-shirts. I got some t-shirts and hoodies here, so I'll break them out next time. Maybe if it's a little colder, I'll pick up the hoodies. But anyway, check out my merch there as well. And also, one last thing, please continue to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You like us, we'll like you back. So there you go. So let's just jump right into it, man. NBA playoffs started this weekend. Obviously, the second round, and these series, man. If the game ones yesterday were any indication, the conference semifinal round is going to be fire. Like, it started out with Milwaukee beating Boston, which took me by surprise. The way they beat them, they beat them by double digits, dude, in the Garden. And here I was thinking that Boston, and again, this is early. I have Boston in 7, and I'm sticking by that because the Bucks do not have Chris Middleton. But man, the physicality. And the other thing is, I tend to forget that Milwaukee is the world champs for a reason, right? They're defending world champs for a reason. So Boston got a taste of that. They got a reminder that they're not playing Brooklyn anymore. Mm-hmm. They're playing a defensive team that is long and tough.
Yeah.
And so I'm stoked. I'm stoked for this series still. I still have Boston at 7, but and also Memphis and Golden State. That was a great game too. You know what I'm saying? I know that Draymond got his ass thrown out. We'll talk about that momentarily when he said he accidentally pulled onto his jersey and didn't think it was worth throwing out. I agree with him on that note, given that we grew up in the 80s and 90s in NBA. That would have not been that wouldn't be any flex, any type of flex. That would have been dust your ass off, get up, get your free throws, get your ass back down the court. It's different now, obviously. But brought a little to law, yes. But me personally, in the playoff basketball, I ain't have a problem. But anyway, that's going to be a great series as well. I have Memphis in 7. I'm sticking with that as well. Well, actually, no. I take that back. I said on my vlog the other day, I have Memphis in 7. I really chose Golden State at first and 6 because they've been there and done that, the experience thing. But anyway, enough about that. So I still give Boston a chance to win in 7. What were your thoughts on Boston, like kind of getting pimp slapped around their own crib by Milwaukee game?
Yeah, I mean they got bully-footed at the crib, which is extremely hard to swallow, especially in the semis of a playoff series. But one of the things, or I would say the biggest thing that stood out to me was the shooting of the Boston Celtics in that series, especially from their key players, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart were combined 13 of 41. Yeah. And I'm wondering how that injury is going to affect him come game 2.
Yeah, the quad injury. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. You missing the defensive player of the year in this series where you most definitely going to need him. It's going to be very difficult for them to win this series. Right. But as a team, they shot the 33 in the third from the field. They shot 18 of 50 from 3, which is abysmal. And when you go ahead and you allow, of course, everyone's going to talk about, or everyone has been talking about, Giannis Antetokounmpo and his triple-double. But we also got to talk about your boy Drew Holiday, who put up 25, 9, 5, and had 3 steals in that game.
Yes,
and this is the same.
Great.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and this is the same Drew Holiday that averaged 16 and 5 during that last series. So if you can continue to get play from him like that with Middleton and with your boy George Hill being out, that'll be wonderful for the Bucks. But that's the thing. Will they be capable of getting that type of play out of him on a consistent basis? Right. I'm going to question that, whether or not that's going to be the case again if Marcus Smart is capable of coming back. And then, of course, I know for sure that the Celtics will make adjustments. But yeah, I'm with you. I truly believe that this series will go 7. And like you, I am leaning towards the Boston Celtics winning that series.
Yeah, you know what? It's like I'm looking at the stats right now, dude. Both teams didn't shoot above 45% from field. Milwaukee shot 41%. Boston shot 33%. Ouch. Both teams shot less than 40% from 3. Milwaukee 35, Boston 36. They both shot okay from the free throw line, but I don't see Boston missing that many shots again. And to your point, I mean that Boston's coach, I think he's a hell of a coach in his first season. He's going to make his adjustments. He's going to figure out how, three teams have to build a wall against the Greek Freak in the playoffs, but Milwaukee turned tail and built a wall on Boston, right? You saw that they weren't getting much in the sorry, I just typed this up. In the lane all series. I mean, all game 1. I mean, Jason Tatum was only 6 of 18 from the field. Jaylen Brown was only 4 of 13. And if you take away the 3-point attempts, they weren't that much better. I mean, Jason Tatum hit only 2 out of 9 outside of 3-point shots.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Jaylen Brown was only 1 of 4 outside. So, again, they're gonna. The coach is gonna make adjustments, but it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be rough, and it also didn't help that. Both teams rebound the ball very well, but Boston, you think a team will get who has 48 rebounds will win, except Milwaukee had 54.
So yeah, it wasn't just the fact that they were out rebounded. The Bucks. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was all Boston and poor shooting. Right. The Bucks played pretty good defense, a damn good defense.
Exactly.
And shockingly so for me, Drew Holiday.
Right.
So yeah, again, if they can continue to get that play throughout the series, the Bucks will win it. But like I said before, I'm sticking with my pick of the Celtics advancing.
Yeah. But they said you saw that play where Giannis went off the backboard to himself, right? That was sweet. That was awesome.
Yeah, for a big man to do that. But didn't we see him do something like that in the All-Star game, either this past All-Star game or the one prior?
Maybe. I didn't watch the All-Star games last couple of years. So maybe you're probably right. I kind of gave up on All-Star a long time ago.
But see, no, the thing is the All-Star game, well, now it has gotten more fun in my opinion, especially with the rule that they have where I guess they would call it the Kobe rule in essence.
You're right. Correct.
With the 24 points added to the highest total in the final quarter, and whoever gets their first wins, and they've all been tight since then. But yeah, it's the dunk contest, which is the issue right now.
Right, and then they need to take that dog out back and shoot. They just need to get rid of that.
Big names aren't going to do it, and
right.
And these fresh faces are doing way too much to try to impress.
Exactly. So let's take it out back and shoot. We don't miss it. Moving right along to Golden State, Memphis. As I mentioned earlier, it was a great game one. It's back and forth. Memphis jumped out on top early. Golden State had the patent runs in the third quarter, but Memphis came back, hung in there. There was missed John Morant layup that was challenged. That was definitely challenged by Klay Thompson, who's a great defender. We all know how great a defender he is, and that sealed the win, the game one win for Golden State. Here's the thing that that concerns me if I'm a Memphis Grizzlies fan. Their heart and soul, Draymond Green got kicked out of the game for Golden State, which from a foul that me personally, I'm an 80s and 90s guy in NBA. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, so with NBA. I didn't think that warranted any ejection. That to me is an old school playoff foul. Just dust your ass off, get to the line, hit your free throws, get back down the court. And if you want to do the same retaliation, fine. They're going to hit free throws. People there weren't any easy layers back in the 80s and 90s.
None.
You got your ass gets pushed into the front row, if not the ground.
Yeah.
And most of the time people didn't fight. They just got up slowly, dust themselves off, hit free throws, and moved on. That's just the way it was. I mean, that's like that in playground basketball. You don't dunk. If you try to go for a dunk, you're going to get pushed out of the air. And it may start a fight or two, but usually it doesn't, especially if that's not your home turf, your neighborhood turf. You didn't do that. So, I get why the NBA has these rules now. I mean, since post Malice in the Palace, so the letter of the law, I suppose, Draymond had to be kicked out. But we watch these playoff games. We watch for the stars. We don't watch for the officiant. We watch for the stars, right? Yeah. So that's why I was disappointed when Draymond. But even saying that all of that, the Draymond's excuse. Come on, D. Y'all know better than that. Now I agree from the standpoint that he thinks that it's softer now. I agree with him on that, as far as how it's officiated. But for the letter of the law, he was dead ass. And one thing he did say was correct, with that maybe it was like he was losing to his reputation. Well, yeah.
That's exactly what it was. I mean, if you saw him in his motion, it wasn't like he cocked back in his swing, which is, I'm believing that's the letter of the law with the windup. There was none, And then, of course, the people were saying that, he swiped at his face, but you only see the swipe if you slow it down, because I didn't see it in real time. Right. And you could also see that he was attempting to hold him up when he realized that he had knocked him off balance and was about to hit the floor. Yeah, right? But, it's just like the average little kid. If you have a bad child that has a reputation of being bad and he's always messing up, every little thing from that moment on is going to get him in trouble because of his reputation. Same thing with Draymond. And it's unfortunate, but, he has to understand that now he cannot be a detriment to this team by making because I don't even consider it to be a stupid foul. It was just a play that went awry. But he can't do anything crazy now. So hopefully he keeps that in mind throughout the entire series. but hopefully that doesn't hinder him from being who he is as a defender.
Right. Yeah, and also, if you peep the stats right quick, we talked about the stats last time, but but peep this. Like, if again, as I said, if you're Memphis Grizzlies fan, you're disappointed only because of Draymond, but Seth Curry had an uncharacteristically cold game. He was 8 of 20 from the field. Klay Thompson was only 3 of 10 from 3. They both missed free throws down the stretch. Hell, Klay missed 2 free throws. When was the last time we see Klay Thompson miss 2 free throws? Yet they couldn't close. Memphis can close the deal. That's why I'm rolling with Golden State. They've been there, done that. Memphis still thinks that they can get away with the athleticism, and they tend to forget Golden State's not as nearly as dumb as Minnesota. I mean, Minnesota should have closed. That Minnesota series should have ended with the Timberwolves winning in 5 games. Minnesota's just too dumb of a basketball team. That's why Memphis in the second round. So
yeah,
that's why I like Golden State anyway.
That's one of the things. Of course, they have the veteran experience, but they also have a bunch of young players on this team. We're starting to see right now that Jordan Poole is real with his 31 points, 8 boards, 9 assists, and 2 blocks after averaging 21, 2 and 5 in the previous series.
Right.
But it was Andrew Wiggins in game 1 who gave us 17 and 8 after averaging 14 and 7 in game 1. I mean, I'm sorry, not game 1, but in the first series. So if you can continue to get good play out of both of them, as well as Steph and Klay playing like their normal selves, this series might end up ending quicker than what people think. But yeah, if they continue to play around with the Memphis Grizzlies, this might be a long series because this is a talented team.
Very talented. They're very talented. And they're dogs. I like the fact that Memphis is full of dogs. John Moran had a great game. He showed up. But, I mean, again, you got to capitalize. And they'll learn this. Memphis will learn this.
Yeah.
And if you're in the playoffs, if you got an experienced team down, you got to put them out. You got to take advantage of their mistakes. Otherwise, I mean, you see it, one play. I mean, granted, it was a what you call it? I just lost my train of thought. The point is, I just had a horrible day. The point is that if your young team at Memphis is down, you got an experienced team that's going to stay on the ropes. You got to capitalize. I feel bad for John Moran missed that last shot. It was actually contested by Klay Thompson, but they'll learn.
Yeah,
they'll learn. I mean, it'll still be a long series. That's why I have Golden State still in 6. But it is what it is. I mean, they'll learn from it. It should still be entertaining. We're moving on. Now, I would say this about tonight's games. Well, what is going on right now in Philadelphia and Miami? Philadelphia is hanging in there, but Miami's starting to pull away a little bit in the third quarter, the 8th. But I do like, I mean, James Harden's showing a little bit of spirit, even though he's only 5 of 12 from the field right now. But he has 8 rebounds, 5 assists, getting it done on other parts, other ends of the court and whatnot in other areas. But this is James Harden's series right now.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid is out for who knows how long. They say he'll be back for games 3 and 4. I don't know about that. Like from his concussion, his fracture is orbital, which is ouch. But James, he wanted to be here. James Harden wanted to be in Philly. He said he wanted to be in Philly all along. It's your time, brother.
And see, that's going to be the problem, right? Because they're facing a great defensive team in Miami. And God knows I love to poke fun at James Harden because everyone's anticipating this Bama to go ahead and be what he once was. I don't see it. I'm gonna need him to show it to me. And this is the opportune time for him to do it. But my God, it's going to be a test for him to do so. And you're saying that he's shooting what, 8 of 15 right now?
Yeah.
Or 8 of 16?
No, he's 5 of 12. He's 5 of 12.
5 of 12. He's shooting 5 of 12 in the third quarter. He's looking like that James Harden of seasons, recent seasons. He ain't looking like that James Harden of old. And that's what they're going to need. They're going to need somebody on that team to at least give them 30 with at least 2 other players giving them 20. And that means they're going to need that combination out of James Harden, Tobias Harris, and what's your other boy's name? The young cat.
We're talking about. I know you're talking about. Pull up the box score right quick.
God.
Maxey.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Maxey. So yeah, you're going to need that combination of at least 65 to 70 points out of those three cats. And if you don't get it game in and game out, this series might end up being a gentleman's sweep.
Yep. So I mean, again, it's strange we see. I see Paul Millsap. We have a Paul Millsap signing earlier. He got in the game for 5 minutes. Talk about the money have fallen. He was a star in Atlanta, and now he's also man.
Yeah,
I guess that's a lot for the NBA. But yeah,
which is just how bad Atlanta was.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so I have Miami in 5. Before Embiid got hurt, like before the Embiid news, I had Miami in 6, but I got him at 5.
Yeah.
I don't trust James Harden. I don't trust him. I really do not trust James Harden to get it done in the postseason when it's all on him, right? So they're down 10 right now, 80-70. Third quarter is almost over, like 28 seconds left in the third quarter. But again, I just don't see it for Philly this year. Maybe I would say maybe to get a full training camp next year, but I don't trust James Harden in the postseason.
Well, he's going to have to show that he's going to be worth a max contract in this series, and if he doesn't, that money's going to be very funny.
Very, very funny. And what's not fair for this night's matchup after the Philadelphia-Miami game, Dallas and Phoenix, that should be entertaining.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see Luka's back healthy because in the playoffs, you don't want to see superstars hurt now. That sucks, which is why not seeing Embiid in games 1 and 2, it's going to really suck. It sucks tonight to watch them like without Embiid. It really does. I mean, the injury regards will be something else, but it should be a great series. I have Phoenix. I respect Luka enough to give him 2 games. And Jason Kidd can coach really well. I'll give him 2 games, but it's going to end in 6. It'll be Phoenix in 6, I think.
Yeah, I'm right there in complete agreement with you. The person to watch, of course, based upon the way he played in that first series, would be Jalen Bronson. And if he can continue to give you an output like he did in that first series, where he gave you 28, 5, and 4 in that first series against Utah, including that game 2 outburst where he put up 41. Right. If he can continue to do that alongside Luka, it's going to be a very interesting 6 games. Right. But I'm with you. I got it ended in 6 too.
Yeah, I got it in 6 too. So let's do a pivot, if you will, to the draft. It's interesting seeing all those trades, man. The first round, it's just funny.
Was it 9 total in the first round,
dude? And it was so crazy that you had division rivals, trading with each other. Minnesota and Detroit. Are you serious?
How they say it on Ghostbusters? Dogs and cats living together. Yeah, when you start seeing teams from the NFC North making trades with one another, it was very interesting to see some of the moves that were made in the first round on Thursday night.
Yeah, congrats to Trayvon Walker, defensive out of Georgia, for being the first overall pick. I would have preferred Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan, even though they say Trayvon Walker's ceiling is higher than Hutchinson's, but Trayvon played on the Georgia defensive line. All the defensive linemen went in the first or second round, right? So it's like no one keyed on him. And he only had a handful of sacks, like maybe 3 or 4 sacks. You sure you want to pick him as the number 1 overall pick? Ceiling be damned. So it's going to be interesting to see. But what's more interesting is there was only one quarterback taken in the first 2 rounds. The first one.
Speaking of, how do you feel about that quarterback selection?
Well, you know what? It's a safe selection. I've watched Kenny Pickett a lot at Pitt over the last few seasons. I watched him last year, obviously, when he broke records, right? He was the Giant United's award winner, which means that he didn't suck, right? He led them to the ACC title. Beat Wake Forest. Didn't play in the ball game against Michigan State. He was a 5-year player. He took advantage of the COVID rule that you could come back an extra year, which good for him. That actually the extra year for him was similar to what the last year did for Joe Burrow at LSU, right? When he walked off of a national title and a Heisman. Kenny Pickett walked off an ACC title and records broken at Pitt. He broke Dan Marino's records, which is pretty damn cool, right? And he was a finalist for the Heisman Award. I already mentioned the John Unitas Award winning. So he was the safest out of the bunch. I mean, it was just a bad quarterback class. I mean, and I think the other teams got the memo on that. They didn't listen to folks in the media saying, hyping up Malik Willis and Desmond Ridder from right here at University of Cincinnati. The dude from Carolina, who probably should have stayed his ass in school, got picked in the 3rd round. But it's just that. The first quarterback went at number 20. The second quarterback went in the middle of the 3rd round. That's how bad this quarterback class. That's how little the teams thought of this quarterback class, right?
Yeah.
So
I'll say this though, Scott. The last time they said we had a bad quarterback class, that class included some scrubs, Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes? Is that how you pronounce the name?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, or I call him Mahomes. So that's why.
Patrick Mahomes? Yeah, I don't know what happened to them two Bamas. But yeah, that was the last time they said we had a weak quarterback class, and we saw what those guys did. The thing is, though, that's going to be very interesting. Like you said, with your boy coming out of Pitt, staying in Pittsburgh and playing there potentially.
That's a great situation for him too.
Yeah, right. He's going to be surrounded by a very stout defense. That running game is going to be interesting. I don't know if the Steelers have done. You'll have a better answer on this than I will. If the Steelers have made the moves to improve that offensive line to make them better, but they also have some young wideouts there too. So if he can go ahead and come in a very patient situation, because they're not going to rush him to come back.
No,
with Trubisky being there, unless Trubisky just falls on his face, and then they feel as though they need to come out there and put him out there a lot earlier. But even if he does, he doesn't necessarily have to win games on his arm just yet. And we've seen that pattern before here in Pittsburgh, where they didn't necessarily have to rely on a QB to win games. They could just have him make plays, have their defense continue to make plays, and they win games like that. Because we have not seen your boy over there lose or go under 500 ever in his career. And I don't see that happening in the foreseeable future either.
Yeah, like you mentioned the offensive line. They've added some pieces in free agency to the offensive line. So they added quite a few guys, like James Daniels, the cats like that. We've added some offensive linemen in free agency, so which allowed us to pivot and be more flexible in the draft, which also allowed us to add like 2 wide receivers, which was great because our receiving core was not deep at all after the loss of Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, yeah. So DeMarvin Leo, George Pickens from Georgia, he was hurt like most of last season, but in spot duty, he did pretty well. And before he got hurt, he was a stud. He went from he's a first round talent that fell in the 2nd round because of his injuries. And then you have Calvin Austin III from Memphis, who's it was almost like Tyreek Hill light in terms of explosiveness. I call him light because he obviously he's a rookie, and he did at Memphis, but keep an eye on him. He's going to be our gadget guy. So it's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. But yeah, so what other? Do you have any other shockers like from the draft? Aside from the quarterbacks, the teams disrespecting the quarterbacks outside Kenny Pickett, which again I think is going to work out for him because he's in a great situation in Pittsburgh. As you
Yeah.
said, he doesn't like have to rush, blah, blah, blah. He has talent. You see sounds all around him, skill positions everywhere else. But aside from the trades, what other things shocked you from the draft?
The things that shocked me, because I don't necessarily like doing draft grades
Yeah, I don't do
until
that.
it's
I don't
like
get
maybe
paid enough
2 or
for
3
that.
years later. I
Right.
love watching the assessment of draft grades and reviewing them like 2 years down the line. I love going back to that draft evaluation of the Indianapolis Colts the year that they drafted Darius Leonard, and they questioned why would they draft a guy from the FCS in the second round like that. I think that pick put out pretty well. Yeah,
You saw
right.
why. Yeah.
So exactly, right. So that's why I don't like doing these assessments until like 2 years down the road, so we can get at least an evaluation of them playing on the NFL level. But a couple of things that did shock me. One thing, of course, were a lot of the moves that were made in the division where my division foes are, especially primarily the ones of the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Mhm.
Now, I want to thank the Dallas Cowboys for at least putting a little bit more joy in my heart later on in the draft by drafting the offensive tackle in the first round, a position I didn't think they really needed right
I don't
there.
know what they were thinking with that. From what was it like Tulsa, University of Tulsa, who led his team in holding penalties, if I'm not mistaken.
Even better, right? So yeah, then you're making that smile that much more brighter on me right now, right?
Right.
Because first with the Giants and their draft class with Kayvon Thibodeau, and who was did they take Sauce Gardner too? Oh no, the Jets took Sauce Gardner.
The Jets took Sauce Gardner.
I'm sorry. I forget who the other player was that the Giants took, but those first 2 draft picks in the first round for them were phenomenal. Same thing with the Jets, the 2 teams in New York that have had the 2 worst records in the NFL over the past 5-6 seasons.
Yeah,
they made some wonderful
Jets,
draft
man?
picks on paper.
And how about the Jets making those picks, man? That's exactly. Pretty dope. They had a dope draft.
Exactly. So I applaud the New York teams for what they did. I applaud the moves of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right.
My God, even though the assessment of Albert Hainsworth as it pertains to what's your boy's name, Jordan, the defensive tackle from Georgia that the Eagles took,
Jordan Davis.
Yes.
Jordan Davis.
Even though they had an assessment of Albert Hainsworth on Jordan Davis, which of course made me smile, because all I can think of is him doing the worm with Michael Vick tiptoeing over top of him to score another touchdown over them in that big blowout game on Monday night a few years back. Right. But let's be real, he's probably more like a younger Albert Hainsworth who actually had talent than an older Albert. Or Fat Al, as he's referred to here in DC. But you had that clogger up in the middle with Cox, and then you trade for AJ Brown.
Dude, I like that. That shocked me. Like Tennessee didn't want to pay him. That's what it boiled down to. They want to pay him. So feels like, thank you.
Yeah. So now Jalen Hurts has no excuse. So those were the 2 in terms of the East Coast moves that were made. But the other thing that I wanted to address that a lot of people kept questioning, what are they doing? The Packers and the Chiefs, they kept talking about why didn't they take a wide receiver in the first round? Well, why are you reaching? Exactly, right. Well, one, why are you reaching for a wideout at that spot anyway in the draft? And you're talking about post 25 when you can just go ahead and get you a talent later on in the draft and go ahead and bolster your defensive backfield, which I think both teams ended up doing in the first round. Right. Well, and the Chiefs really did so. God, they drafted 5 defensive backs with their 10 draft picks. I thought that was interesting. But I mean, they've been known to draft wide receivers in the second round or later that have turned out to be great talents. Tyreek Hill was not a first round draft pick. As a matter of fact, Scott, You saw me when I put this post up. The Green Bay Packers, dating back to 1987, their leading receivers, they've only had two wide receivers that were first-round draft picks that led that team in receiving, and that was over a span of 5 seasons, dating back to 1987. And those two wide receivers are, of course, Javon Walker and, yes, Sterling Sharp. Everyone else was a second-round draft pick or later, including one Donald Driver, who was a 7th-round draft pick out of the Alcorn State University. So,
and
yes.
also frat brother, too.
Exactly. So there you go. So yes, that team just seems to find ways of drafting wide receivers in late rounds that turn out to be gold. And I keep telling people, drafting a first-round draft pick, well, drafting a wide receiver in the first round for Green Bay has not been the issue for that team.
Right.
It's been A.A. Ron's headspace.
Yeah.
And then in that first game against San Francisco, it was that defense giving up plays. So yes, if you can go ahead and get them to play on par, everybody at the same time, they will be fine. But yeah, drafting a first-round wide receiver was not the issue for the Packers.
Well, I got to push back with you a little bit on the Green Bay San Francisco playoff game.
Okay.
That was Aaron's fault. That was Aaron's fault.
Oh, most definitely.
That was Aaron's fault. The defense gave up the defense really gave up
in the second
points.
Game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you were talking about doing the regular season. I'm sorry.
Oh no. I was talking about doing the championship game a few years back.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, true. That's very true. They got
remember because they played in the playoffs 3 times in the past 4 years. I want to say, or was it the past 3 years?
I think 4 years. Yeah. But San Fran owns it, in the playoffs.
Yeah.
But this past year, the defense really just gave up 3 points to San Fran because they scored off special teams off of the block punt, and Aaron Rodgers couldn't score more than what he scored. That's all.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's not here nor there. But I got one more petty comment. When AJ Brown, news said when AJ Brown going to Philly, there was a meme that was put out where he said, congratulations to AJ Brown. Another receiver that Jalen Hurts will miss. I thought I'd pay this in there. I thought I'd throw that in there, man.
If it pans out for them, hooray for them, and I'm going to hate it. But if that happens, I'm going to love that. But it's going to this upcoming season.
We know some Philly fans. We're close to some Philly fans, and that's
that will remind me.
Yeah, I know, right? Me too. One's my first cousin moving out, but at any rate, one of my first cousins. Speaking of the draft, let's use that to shift it to the HBCU Sports set. Now, I think there were four. Were there 4 players from HBCUs that were drafted?
You know what, Scott? I'm going to take this moment to correct everyone.
All right.
It's 5.
Oh, 5. Okay.
It's 5. For whatever reason, people tend to forget about one Brian Cook. Yes, that Brian Cook out of University of Cincinnati. He actually played his first 2 seasons at Howard University.
Okay. Yeah.
Now,
that's
we're going
to give transfer.
Yes, he's a transfer from Howard. Now we're going to give credit to James Houston. I understand the situation is different because he transferred to an HBCU to finish out his career.
Right.
But yeah, we're going to go ahead and give credit. As a matter of fact, he played more games at Howard than he played at Cincinnati. He played 21 at Howard, 11 at Cincinnati. So I'm most definitely going to give him more credit. Well, I'm going to give him credit for being an HBCU player. It just happens to be that he was one of the many that came under that whole Ron Prince fallout that led to that mass exodus, which included one, Kalen Newton, and of course, Jaquez Ezzard, who I will talk about a little bit later on. So yes, there were 5. And of course, like I said before, that would be Brian Cook going in the 2nd round to the Kansas City Chiefs, and the second, followed by Joshua Williams out of Fayetteville State.
Yes.
Going in the 4th round.
The Kansas City, right?
Also the Kansas City. Remember I said it took 5? 2 of those guys was spent times in the HBCU. Right. Then later on in the 4th round, you had Jacoby Durant, the defensive back out of South Carolina State, go to the LA Rams. In the 6th round, you had James Houston. Shout out to Brad Holmes, the general manager up there in Detroit. Of course, out of North Carolina A&T, played some football there too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he drafted James Houston out of Jackson State in the 6th round, and then in the 7th round, John Tyree Carter out of Southern was taken by the Chicago Bears at pick number 226. So you had, let me repeat it one more time for the people out there, because I kept seeing people post 4. No, it's 5. 5, 5, 5.
$5 foot long.
Yes, right. So I'm going to include Brian Cook in that situation if a lot of you guys don't. So to hell with you. I'm taking 5. And a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and take this time. I'm going to salute one Gary Flea Harrell, the offensive assistant down there, the running backs coach down there at Jackson State, who was the head coach over at Howard University, who was responsible for recruiting Brian Cook to come over to Howard, along with another gentleman that I'm going to talk about a little bit later. So yes, we talked about the 5 HBCU athletes that were drafted in this year's draft, but of course you had several players that were picked up as undrafted free agents and guys that are going to participate in mini camps. Names that stand out, of course, Marquez Bell out of Florida A&M, that's going to be there in Dallas. The trigger man, Felix Harper, quarterback from Alcorn State, that's going to Cleveland. Another one of those transfers, Quinterio Cole, was safety, who spent his last year or so in Louisville, transferred from Alcorn State. So shout out to Fred McNair, the head coach over there, that was capable of recruiting both Harper and Cole to come over to Alcorn State, and of course end up in the NFL that way.
Right.
And then of course John Martin out of North Carolina A&T, he's going to the Colts on a minicamp deal. Akil Glass, the quarterback out of Alabama A&M, the big arm, he's actually going to Tampa Bay. And then and then like I said before, yes, he's going to be with the GOAT down there with Tom Brady. And then the name that stood out to me the most, Braylon Robinson out of Alcorn State, who they're looking to play at wide receiver. Note, I didn't say he played wide receiver at Alcorn. They're looking to have him play wide out at Tampa.
So he was a quarterback.
He's a sprinter.
Oh, he was a football. Oh, he was a track guy.
He's a track guy.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, ran the fastest time in the 60 and the 100 down there at Alcorn State. Competed for a national title in the 100. So yes, he's huge sprinter, and he's going to go ahead and go into Tampa and be a mini camp tryout there and see if we can go ahead and get him a roster spot.
So how did they find him? I know that they had to do some work to mining to find him.
Just his speed. They just took a chance on his speed. They saw how fast he is and took a chance. Now, this isn't the first time. God, I can't remember what his name is.
Willie Gault?
No, not Willie Gault.
Ronaldo Nehemiah?
No, Quentin Bell. Quentin Bell was a defensive end. Actually, he was a wide receiver turned defensive end.
Okay.
Oh my God, where did Quentin play? In the SWAC. I can't remember what Quentin played. It is killing me right now. But he, like I said, he was converted over from wideout to defensive end. His final season, played defensive end just 1 year, led the SWAC in sacks because of his speed. Nice. And of course, the Raiders took a chance on him because, of course, he was a speedster playing on the edge, where he would eventually end up where? At the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, yeah, the Bucs have been known to go ahead and take chances on guys who are speedsters to see if they can go ahead and play the other positions. So, yes, again, shout out to Braylon and his attempt to go ahead and make the league as a wide receiver. And then the final guy I wanted to talk about was my man, Jaquez Ezzard. I brought him up before.
Okay.
He's coming here to DC to play for the Commanders. In essence, he's kind of returning home. Yes, a lot of people out there who are big fans of FCS football know Jaquez from his time playing with Sam Houston State the past 2 seasons, where he won a national championship in the spring of 2020.
Right.
But he started at Howard University, another player that was recruited by Gary Flea Harrell, that unfortunately was part of that breakup there in Howard, again, by that Bama Ron Prince. And yeah, that huge mess that was going on there. So yeah,
Wow.
I still feel bad for that 2019 team and what they could have been. I truly believe that they could have competed against North Carolina A&T for the MEAC championship that season, but it's the season that we'll never know and never see because of one, God, what's your boy's name that's now down at William and Mary, the head coach down there now. That used to be the head coach at Virginia.
Oh, London.
Mike London, yes.
Mike London.
So yeah, when Mike London left, and like the Roots, all things fall apart.
Fall apart, yeah.
And yeah, that entire team broke up, man, and we never got an opportunity to see that team become what I thought that they would be. Right. So, final big news coming out of the MEAC. It was first reported by collegead.com. Even though the athletic directors there within the MEAC voted to approve the of the addition of Chicago State to the conference, with Howard University looking to move out to go to the CAA, it was voted today that vote was voted down by the university presidents. So it's interesting because the ADs in the MEAC voted 7-1 in favor of the addition, with the college presidents voting 2-6 in opposition of this addition.
What? I mean, you want alignment. Like, if anything, sports have taught us the last few years. We've known this, but it's really been brought to the light with happenings. Is that it says it's the smartest, similarly the smartest people in sports. It seems to be chaotic in terms of dysfunctionality, in terms of how organizations will run. We see it in professional sports. We see it in collegiate sports, in particular, not only on campuses, but leagues. You have ADs who are closer to, who is in charge of, guess what? Athletics. That voted to accept Chicago State to keep the numbers up in the MEAC, where you have the nerds, AKA the presidents, for some reason voting that shit down. Now, I don't know why they would do that. I don't know why they would usurp the people they've hired, the own fair people that they hired to make such decisions. Why have a vote if you're going to overrule it? That's what I mean. And it's not just, I'm not picking on HBCU conferences. This goes to the Big 12. We see us having the Big 12, i.e. Texas and Oklahoma, especially Texas. I'm looking at you, Longhorn fam. We've seen this in the past, the ACC, where Maryland got tired of John Swafford shit. Decided to vote for the cash in the Big Ten. We've seen this before. We've seen this, we've mentioned pro sports. We've seen this before. But damn, I focus on this because one thing is the HBCU Sports segment, two, it's like you got a conference as great as the MEAC. Just shooting themselves in the foot left and right. You're losing members. And you think they'll replenish, but I don't know what the fuck's going on. I don't know what's going on. It's a damn shame.
Scott, neither do I, Scott. And it boggles my mind that this is going on, right? Now, a lot of the things that I've heard has been, of course, hearsay and allegations.
Sure.
And I don't necessarily want to pin stuff on people or institutions based on that.
Of course.
But I will say this. A lot of the things that have transpired that led to the disintegration of the MEAC has been due in part to the university presidents. And I'll leave it at that. Take whatever you want from that. Take whatever your assumptions are on why they chose not to bring in Chicago State. You got to remember, Chicago State is not an HBCU, even though it is a predominantly Black institution. It's not an HBCU. And of course, they don't have a football program. But as of right now, I don't have an answer on why they chose not to vote them in. But again, like I said before, some of the things that I've heard in terms of the decision making that the institutions that have left the MEAC, that being Hampton, North Carolina A&T, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and I'm not counting Savannah State because their move was more so a fiscal move, other than them looking to find a different Division I spot to play in. But a lot of the things that I've heard were based upon the decisions made by university presidents. That's why I kept telling people, dude, it's not the teams that are leaving that's doing this. It's the presidents that are there that are doing this. And this should be a wake-up call to MEAC fans that you're looking to add another team, and your current members, for your current presidents of the member institutions, for whatever reason, have decided to vote that they don't make an addition. Now, it has to be with reason, whatever that reason is. As of right now, I don't know, but it just seems counterproductive, because if Howard does leave, it's already been reported once before that Delaware State has already talked to the NEC in the past about moving on, and it's probably it's alleged that Morgan State is also talking to the NEC about potentially moving on too, which leads me to believe those two teams that voted, those two presidents that voted for the addition of Chicago State are probably Delaware.
Those
State,
two schools,
State.
yeah. It'll be interesting to be seen, man. But that's just, I mean, hell, it's another topic for the roundtable that's coming up this summer. But
these topics just keep coming and coming.
I know, man. We might have 5 parts of this shit before it's over. But,
I know, right? But yeah, let me go ahead and shout out Coach Prime. I know a lot of people got a lot of negative things to say about him. And he said some questionable things this past weekend as it pertains to Isaiah Land and his decision to go ahead and get into the transfer portal to leave Florida A&M and potentially go to another program. We're still waiting to see what that decision is going to be. He doesn't necessarily have to leave. He can actually stay, but we don't know just yet. But I will say this. During his spring game, he was asked how many players from HBCUs did he believe will be drafted. He said 5.
Yeah.
Contrary to what the other numbers say, he was right with that 5.
Technically, it was 5.
So, yeah.
5 down the football. Okay, before I close the program, I want to give a quick shout out, which is a topic we don't really talk about much, if at all. The National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs taking place tonight. My beloved Hurricanes beat the dog piss out of Boston. They've given us problems in the playoffs in the past, but I'm happy to say that we're going to get them down on those damn Bruins. Hell, me being a New York sports fan, I hate anything coming out of Boston anyway. That's bully for me. I know your beloved Capitals are playing the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough series.
So that's gonna be tough. But shout out to the Stanley Cup playoffs. I believe it's the best tournament in all sports.
Yeah.
Because of because of the grind, the grueling. I mean, it's just you can't buy a trophy. It's one of the few sports where you cannot buy a championship trophy. So props to the NHL. Props to my Carolina Hurricanes. Looking at I'll be watching your Capitals because I'm a big Ovechkin fan, still am. But want to give a quick shout out to the NHL. And on that note, we'll close today's podcast. Thank y'all for tuning into tonight's podcast. Just to say, it's nighttime, not daytime. Check out my man Dwayne Nash, my co-host. Great work. You see it on the backdrop right there. The Yard, HBCU.com. Also, herosports.com. Check out Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live and YouTube. So I'll have those links in the description when this gets up to upload to YouTube this week. Also, check out the clowntimes.net and also the merch, captainpress.com. Search for the Klown Time Sports. Have those links there as well. And also, please continue to like, I said earlier, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And hit that bell button while you're at it too, right? Because you like us, we'll like you back. And the algorithms will like us. So please do that too. So Until next time, have a great weekend, a great rest of the week. Enjoy the great NBA playoffs. Enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs. We out here.